Hey, I promised you on the last episode that we were going to do something different. Actually picked up my stuff, came out into the field. I'm sitting down here with Craig Westbrook. It's been a long time friend. We've known each other 15 or so years.
That's about right. Yeah, probably 15 years.
He's a used car salesman, kind of.
That's right.
Kind of.
We don't keep track of numbers.
So only believe half of what we talk about tonight, probably his half. But he owns a little place here in Birmingham called Birmingham Broker. And I've been wanting to sit down with Craig for a long time and actually get him on the podcast, because as we did a couple of years ago when we had Ed Kowalczyk on the podcast, Ed was the consultant to automobile dealerships. Ed explained labor rates and things like that, why things are too expensive. And I kind of want to pick Craig's brain. We're going to learn a little bit about his car brokering business, which is a little bit different than trading your car or sending it to auction, or he'll explain it more. And we might dig a little bit deeper. We might dig a little bit into new car dealerships and used car dealerships and advantages of selling a car through Craig, buying a car through Craig, and a couple of the questions I've always had about buying a car or selling a car through you. I'm going to do the horrible podcast question. What made you want to do this? Why did you want to invest, your $6 in to start a car dealership?
Well, first thing is I love cars. The second thing is I wanted to take what I love and use it to provide for my family. I've always loved sales. That's all I've ever done my entire life, from selling chicken dinner tickets for Crestone Elementary School to selling Cutco knives through college to working for EBSCO. I mean, that's all I've ever done.
Like the ShamWow guy at one.
I am like the ShamWow guy. Yes, exactly. It's just something I'm confident doing, is just talking to people when I have a product that I believe in, of course. Pulling wool has never been anything I'm good at. I am a product convicted person. When I have something I'm passionate about, I like for it to be on menus. Like if I buy something that I love, I try to convince every friend of mine to buy that exact same thing because of how much I love it, or how useful it is, or all that. But anyway, so I was in, real estate in 2008. First of all, my dad was in the car business. My dad started a business in 1985 called Euromotion, where he gets cars for people. So kind of, at that time, 85. So I was 11 years old. So I've always watched him be around cool cars and have great relationships with his customers, because he's always been kind of a white glove service guy. So in the back of my mind, I've always thought I was going to be in the car business in some capacity or another. Because that's what my dad did. But well before that, that's what I was always passionate about. I really love cars.
Yeah, I as many of our listeners know, I sold cars in the mid 90s for a Chrysler dealership too. And people say to me now, why don't you go back to selling cars? Because I absolutely love selling. It's just, it wasn't a very ethical thing. They did something and I did something in typical John fashion, and basically quit and got fired in the same breath.
Yeah.
And the customer that we were lying to didn't buy their vehicle either.
Fortunately, I'm able to control my environment. So it's a different scenario. Like what you're talking about. I worked for a Nissan dealer in Tennessee before I moved to Birmingham, because I had a feeling that I was going to be in the car business in Birmingham. And I wanted to know how not to treat people. I mean, sincerely, people say that they would rather go to the dentist than go to the car lot. Well, why is that? What makes it that bad? Not only from feeling like you're going to get taken advantage of, but one of the things I realized is just how non-important the customer seems to be in those environments. Just watching F&I guys and sales managers take their time and lollygag around and send me back to try to close the deal, and then come back to try to make the deal better. And so it's just this vicious game that just sucks people's time away. And I even heard somebody as recently as last week, and I had never heard this, and this may be something that you've heard of, but they were saying that a lot of the design behind that is when they spend half their day or 3/4 of their day there and they leave, they feel like that they beat the system, like they stayed and negotiated as if like the customer really thinks they won. But who in the world thinks that's what happened?
I tell a story back in 2012 when the Hyundai Velociter was introduced.
You had one.
I've actually had two.
Okay. Yeah.
I bought one in 2012 when I went over to Atlanta and paid $2,000 or $3,000 over sticker. I negotiated an entire Saturday on this car to the point the dealership threw me out. They got tired of negotiating with me, which I always think was
That's ironic.
accomplishment.
Yes.
And I called them on Monday and said, I'll take that last deal. And they said, no. And I said, well, I was ready to take it. And I ended up, typical John, went to the owner, got that. He said, well, you've got it in writing. We'll give it to you. And I ended up buying that car under sticker. But that's one of my wins with the car dealership. And then my most recent car purchase, I went into the dealership with, I think some of the listeners know, I went into the dealership. I had 20 minutes, literally 20 minutes is all I could. And I was looking at cars elsewhere. And I went in and I said, I want to look at this one and this one. And they showed me the second one, which was this Mazda 6 with 50,000 miles on it and an extremely good price. And the salesman worked with me. I got out of there in 35 minutes with an agreed price, went back the next day with a cashier's check, took the car home. And those are my two best dealerships.
I mean, that's impressive. Was that a franchise dealer that you were able to do a 35-minute deal with?
Mid-Center Mazda.
That is incredible.
So
props to them. I mean, that's great.
It was going to be an all cash deal, and which doesn't, believe me, dealerships don't like because they get the kickback on that financing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all cash. The car had been traded on Tuesday. I was there on Friday. And like I also said, the salesman I was working with at CarMax took Friday off, or otherwise I would have bought a Mazda CX-3 from him. But he wasn't there. So on my way home, I drove by the Mazda dealership and saw what they had. And this car had recently been traded. And like I said, the price was exceptional. But then so much about me. I'm good about talking about me. Your inventory, you cater to, let me just be John. I know you as catering to the who's who of Birmingham, the movers and the shakers, the people that buy and sell cars cash. I mean, when we look out the window here from where we're recording, you've got a GT3 out there, you've got an Aston and things like that. But I assume the bulk of your business is everyday cars.
Amen. And the everyday buyer.
So it grabs me because when I was looking for this Mazda, I never did call you because I don't ask favors of friends. And you had a Subaru Baja that interested me, but Subaru with 100 and
this was recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
60,000 miles.
Yeah.
I bought this Mazda like 6 weeks ago.
I was actually selling that for our neighbors at Green Garage.
So you had that one. You had you had a VW Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
Your online description was a little off on it because it had something like a 9-speed manual or whatever.
Oh, you've never driven a 9-speed manual Beetle?
No.
The description definitely was wrong. That I haven't either.
No, because I kind of was telling myself I wanted to buy one of those to drive it for what my purpose is for work. And then I could eventually do a Smith Ute pickup truck conversion to it. But, like I said, drove by the Mazda dealership one day and that was all. But the cars that you get, this is the challenge I always have. And I know it exists because we also have all these title loan places.
Mm-hmm.
At least in Alabama, we do. I know some states, their legalities are different. How do well, before I ask that question, give me a rundown on, I have a car I want to sell. How does the process work? Do I contact you and you're just going to take anything I have or?
No, I mean, obviously we need to qualify the car, qualify the customer, the seller, but typically what happens is we'll get that cold call during the day. Somebody calling that says they have a 2017 Silverado with 87,000 miles and they want to know how we work. And the answer to that is, our job is to sell your car for you. Our job is to net you more money than you would get trading it in. Our job is to keep strangers and weirdos out of your driveway. Is to keep you private, to keep you from dealing with marketplace where they want to trade you their old boat and, Sea-Doo and all that. My job is to make your life easier. My job is to get the car, get it detailed, make it nicer, and get more money in your pocket. But, it comes with a fee. We have 3 typical fees that we charge. We have a marketing fee, a detailing fee, and a commission. The first 2 being pass-through charges, and the second one, obviously, what we make. But it starts basically with a 15 to 20-minute appointment where you bring your vehicle by. I need to see it. I scan it. I've got a tool on my phone that'll give me the Carfax, the history, the guides, and all that. But none of that really matters. I mean, guides are just guides. So, the bulk of our time is spent in front of a computer screen, me showing you similar year, similar model, similar equipment, vehicles, where they're priced at, and then painting the picture. This is what I think we need to advertise it at. This is what I think you should expect to take home. We can start a little higher if that makes you feel better, because, we don't want to sell the car super fast and then everyone thinks we left money on the table. So typically we'll start a little bit higher just to see. And we don't get any action in 2 weeks, we drop the price and we get it down to where it needs to be. Our sellers trust us, and we trust that they're bringing us a good car, but we look it over. We make sure it's a good car. We check the Carfax history. We visual inspect it. We look for lights on, all that kind of stuff. And, if it's a pig with lipstick or something, we're not going to take it on. I mean, because we're a reputation business. We're word of mouth, and have been for 17, 18 years, other than a little bit of, a lot of radio advertising. We have one radio station we advertise with a lot. They bring us a lot of cars, but now we are trying to get into the social media side of things, and we're already seeing some fruit from that, in about 3 weeks time. But typically it's word of mouth. So we got to make sure we're selling a good product. We got to make sure we're doing the best we can for our seller.
Say I'm atypical a little bit. And like I said, I'm familiar with you working with people that pay cash for their cars and don't believe in financing. Let's say I've got a 2023 Camry that I want to unload, and I want to go through you, but I still have a bank note.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to work with that, or
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just one more form when we do the paperwork. The paperwork is just information about you and the car, a consignment agreement, a power of attorney, and in this case, authorization for payoff and demand for title. It's going to be the form that we're going to send to whatever bank, whether it be Toyota Financial or whatever, along with the payoff, ask them to send the title to us so we can convey it to the purchaser.
And so it's just a little bit of paperwork, a little bit of extra paperwork, and really nothing. And it takes 3-4 weeks for them to get me the title. But it's just, as a seller, I'm not going to notice a difference. I'm just going to get a check for.
Right. That's right. For the difference, yeah. for your net difference, whether it be positive or negative. I mean, if you owe 30 grand on it, we sell it for 25, which you would have agreed to have done. We're not going to sell it for less than what we're asking for without having a conversation with you. But you would bring us a check for the difference, and we'd see to it, send it off, make sure it gets done. When you owe money on a car, boy, that makes it hard to sell private party, because people just don't trust each other anymore. They don't. So you got it on marketplace, you have 30 grand on it. What's going to give a buyer confidence that they're going to get the title? You could hold hands and go to FedEx together and watch it get sent off and hope that the seller brings you the money. It's just complicated. And we see quite a few cars, probably a good percentage of cars of people that do owe money on them, because it is very cumbersome to deal with all those steps for them. For us, I mean, it's just what we do.
And if I bring it to you, I assume, like you said, you're going to come up and you're going to show me prices, we're asking prices, and then you're going to have a very intelligent or convincing conversation what the selling price is, kind of like, if this car sold for $1,800,000 at Jack Barrett Jackson, that doesn't mean yours is worth $1,800,000. But you have that conversation about, this is what the asking prices are, this is what the selling prices should be. You agree to that, and once that transaction's completed, the money kind of shuffles, and you're probably going to end up with not promising. I'm not making this, I'm not saying Craig is promising you this, but you're probably going to end up with a few more dollars than you would trading the vehicle.
These are good questions. Okay. So someone's shopping for a car. They're thinking about trading in. A lot of times they come to me with their trade numbers, and I'll tell them too, thanks for making me part of your due diligence in buying the car. But I'll tell people, because when you trade in a car, you're also going to get tax savings. So like here where we are, if you trade in a $20,000 car, that's $20,000. That's 4.75% tax on $20,000 that you're not having to pay on the new car. So you're bringing in your car, you're telling me
about $1,000,
which in this case about $1,000. Yeah, exactly. So what we do is we'll look at the entire equation, especially when they're looking at trading in and buying another car. And I'll show you, I think we list it for this. I think it realistically sells for this. I think this is what you get. Now let's reverse engineer it. If they're going to give you X for this on trade, and then you're going to get your tax savings, and we're like $500 or $1,000 or, sometimes $1,500 difference, I'll just say, you just need to go take the trade. I think by the time it's here, by the time it's marketed, if the market's shifting or whatever, and we can't sell it for the price that we think, it's too close. And, if I guide you into giving me your car to sell, first of all, I won't do that. I'm not going to take on your car unless I can't be positive 100% of the time, but I have to feel like I'm positive. I'm not in the game of just getting inventory. So if I feel like that there's a chance that I'm not going to accomplish that goal of getting you more, I will tell you to go trade it, because then I will follow it up by saying, bring me the next car. That's not always the occasion. Sometimes there's a hungry dealer out there that needs that particular car on a trade because they've got somebody in the pipeline looking for that car. So I'm not saying, trade values are always bad. It depends on the scenario. But if I feel like you can do better or equal to what I could do trading it in, I 100% do not want the car.
Yeah, because there is, like you said, the tax savings in some states, and some states have a much higher sales tax than what Alabama has, or Birmingham area has. And then, of course, there's your fees on top of it. So it does have to there has to be some sort of difference. So I believe
1,000,000%. Right. And, I feel like we charge more than a fair commission to make that work. And on the buyer side, and, how do we make it work? Well, a buyer comes in, we operate just like any other car dealer. So someone comes in, and they see what they like. We offer financing, we take trade-ins, whatever it takes to keep every door open to getting your car sold. But on top of that, it's pretty commonplace now when you go to buy a car, you have to pay a doc fee. I mean, and dealers say, well, that's dealer profit. That's documentation fee. That's right. But it's dealer profit. In this case, it's dealer profit because I need to charge a buyer a doc fee. I'm comfortable doing it because every other freaking dealer does it, but I use it so that I don't have to charge my seller as much, to make the math work, where to justify the spread that you're going to get by not trading it in and me getting you more. I'm able to kind of share that cost in the form of a doc fee to a buyer.
Yeah. And like you said, just about every dealer carries a doc fee.
Yeah. No, we both have opinions about it. I'm not fond of it. I stop it at the doc fee. I don't charge you nitrogen and tires and all that other silly stuff. I figure if everybody else is doing it and it allows me an opportunity for somebody to pay what they're going to normally pay going at another dealer, and to provide a better benefit for the person I'm selling the car for. I try to take the approach of the real estate business, because I came from real estate in Alabama, what they call the limited consensual dual agency, where I try to represent a buyer and a seller equally. If the buyer's getting a great deal, the seller's getting a great deal, I'm getting I'm making what I should earn. I mean, there's nobody losing in the equation.
We're sitting here kind of talking some of these numbers and throwing out some abstracts. And like I said, looking at some of the exotics that you have around here, and I know you've moved some decent exotics, but sitting here in mid-November 2025 is when we're recording this. Probably still come out November 2025. throw out a couple examples of what you might have that the everyday consumer is going to want or have.
No, the everyday consumer is our real market. Like, we have a reputation of high-end cars because you walk into our building and that's what you see. Well, that's what you see because that's what needs to be stored inside, because those are the pampered cars. You know, what you don't see is what's on the side lot. What you don't see is the 40 or 50 cars that are on 6th Avenue that are our real. That's it. I mean, that's our bread and butter. The Toyota Camrys, the Nissan Altimas, the Chevy Silverados, the Ford Expeditions, the Toyota 4Runners, the Sequoias, the Tundras. Like, that's the business model, is the car. I mean, I could sell 15 Camrys faster than I can sell a McLaren. You know, I mean, there's just such a small audience. Now, at the same time, I'm going to do just as good of a job. I'm going to work just as hard on the McLaren, but it's going to sit here for quite a while. You know, it's just such a small audience. You know, I need something that every time I look out this window, somebody driving by, those are the cars that I need, because those are the cars that sell. I mean, and I'm not turning down the other. I mean, I got to be delicate, but I don't want the reputation of being a high car brand person. Yes, we carry high car brands. We do exotics. We'll carry the occasional classics, and I love them, and we work hard to sell those. But that's not what I want my reputation to be, is those types of cars. I want it to be good quality cars that local area people have brought us to sell, cars that we've looked the owners in the eyes and we've been able to ask them, you know, why are you selling the car? Where did you maintain it? It's not something that has come from an auction house with a mystery. That's what I want to be known for, you know, or cars with a history. And if you have a question about a car where you go to a normal car lot and you ask them, you know, about how a car's been maintained, or, you know, a question that's on the Carfax, why does it have a minor, what happened? You know, you won't get those answers. But with us, we can pick up the phone, we can call the seller, and we can get those answers. And I think there's a ton of value for that and a lot of peace of mind for that.
Well, we'll take the Mazda that I said I recently purchased. It's a 2014 Mazda 6. And it was owned by a very elderly couple that just traded it because he felt they needed a new car, something reliable. Turns out, well, this turned out to be a pretty reliable car. She kind of wanted to keep the car still. But the salesman told me when they traded the car, they had a stack like 2 inches thick of all the service records. Unfortunately, the next line out of the salesman's mouth is, we had to shred them all because of privacy concerns. With you, it's a little bit different. You still can't give me all those service records, but
I can, but you know, I've got one of those little roller pin things that will
right.
go over, that'll hide the customer name, hide the address, hide the phone number. I mean, I can provide that, but it's not often that we really do.
What I'm saying is, you're able to have that personal connection with the seller or the previous owner to be able to relay to the buyer. And you can even say, hey, this person's really interested. Can we do this or can we do that? Where with this Mazda, they weren't going to call this previous owner and do anything.
Not a chance. And you're lucky that they knew the previous owner. You know, when you're dealing with, you know, 15 salesmen running around, and
ironically, my salesman was the guy who took the car.
See, exactly. So that's a very small example of that working. But it sounds to me like that experience was fantastic there, getting you in and out in 30 minutes, knowing that history, all that.
To be honest, I've always had a pretty good experience with them. I'll tell you some of the nasty stories, but that dealership, I haven't bought a lot of cars from them, but I had some good experience.
I think that's fantastic.
And that's really what I see out of here. I don't know what your Google rating is or your Trustpilot rating. I know you, and I've trusted everything you do, and the people I know and trust you to sell cars, and you've sold, you know, they bought cars from you. But you don't only deal in cars. You do motorcycles and
Try not to.
Try not
Try
to.
not to.
Okay, so
If it's been a good customer, I've helped them out over the years, but I see motorcycles and things like that just sitting there lingering, and it's not doing anybody good. Now, will we maybe morph back into trying that one day? Possibly, but it's not really been a very good avenue. But no, I'm glad you've noticed, and yes, I have. I've sold quite a few, but not our specialty.
no, we had a brief conversation before we sat down about one. And I've seen some of the interesting stuff you've had. I mean, you had, for a period of time, you had a few lifted Jeeps and things like that. So it's stuff that the ordinary dealership probably would just shuffle off to auction, but it would be a place that you could come and contact. It's worth checking out their website, which is bhambroker.com. BHAM.
Yeah, and BirminghamBroker.com will also get you there. It'll forward.
It's worth checking out the site because you do ship cars. I know, I'm assuming, I can't say I know, I'm assuming a lot of your clientele is local, but you do have the ability to ship or sell across the country. If you
Oh, yeah, we sell them. We sell them everywhere. And the more specialty the car, the odds are the further it's going to go away. But yeah, your Camrys, Sequoias, Tundras, most of those are going to end up between Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, kind of right around this area. Now, some of your interesting full-wheel drives or kind of workhorse 250, 350s, a lot of those will end up out of state just because they don't want what's in their market for sale up there. The ones that have lived through the salt and the snow and all of that, a lot of those do end up north.
Let me go to you discussed that you're able to do trades, you're able to do financing. You go into a dealership and they're running you in 14 different places and whatever, shuffling. Is it local banks or are you dealing with, I guess there's really no such thing as local banks because Chase is going to finance a car everywhere.
Well, America's First, Legacy, we use a lot of the local credit unions, and then we do use some national banks as well.
And I'm assuming you also offer extended warranties and that, because in the purchasing of my this last vehicle, warranty was an issue for me. I really wanted something with a little bit of a warranty. Now I'm questioning why I bought it, but it was a important factor for me.
Sure. Yeah, we offer all of that. We don't push it, but we offer it.
Well, that's different because even when the dealer tells you we're selling you this at cost, they're still getting something out of the deal.
They have electricity.
Yeah. Well, in my case, I actually bought the warranty on a credit card because they didn't put a credit card fee on it. So I wrote the check.
Oh, wow.
And then I bought the warranty on the credit card, paid the credit card off and got my
your points. Yeah, that makes sense. That's good.
So, it's all playing a game. Kind of had kind of covered a little bit or a lot. What is, well, I bumped into you recently at an event at Barber's and that. So we'll go back to the car guy type thing on this. You aren't just a car salesman. Some of your hobbies revolve around cars or involve cars, even though I'm not a big believer in make your job your hobby because you'll never work a day in your life. It's kind of a
yeah. You're still working.
Yeah. Right. But you are out there, but you're not out there as a salesman trying to get clients. You're out there because you're Craig and you're enjoying.
Yeah. And enjoying time with my friends and customers and family and son and daughter, whoever wants to come out there with me. But that's just, I'm ingrained in it. I mean, as a child, going to Road Atlanta and, going down a couple trips to, Bike Week and Daytona and, and now to have a place like Barber in our backyard, it's just, God, we are spoiled rotten. But I find it hard to miss events there because it's special. It's special for me getting to go to those things with my dad. And so being able to share it with my friends as well and my family, I love it.
yeah, Barbara thinks great. And I'll be honest, you took much better pictures, or your daughter took much better pictures than I did at that event. So we've stolen a couple of those from they're my girlfriends, because I didn't take the best pictures, because I still walk on eggshells a little bit there, because I don't know what I can get away with and what I can't. And I used to get away with everything. So I'm still learning my place there as a spectator, but it's always good to see you come out there. What other things might you do for the local car community that they might not think that Birmingham Broker would offer? Because I did something with you probably in 2019 where we drove to South Alabama and looked at some cars and that. But are there other things? I mean, we all think of Birmingham Broker, and we've promoted it as you're a unique car buying and selling experience, as a nice alternative to the dealer or Facebook Marketplace or auctions or eBay or whatever. But what other things might you offer here? We talked, as we couldn't accidentally touched on motorcycles, but are there services you offer or things that you can put together?
Not entirely. I mean, I've got, obviously repeat customers and people I've grown up with and friends that, if they need advice on what body shop to go to, or they smash their bumper, can they get some guidance and help, or they curb their wheels, or, like we'll help them kind of fix stuff like that.
People,
but, yeah,
we all get those questions.
Yeah. So, but that's basically it. It's just really kind of helping people. My number one focus is helping people sell their cars. And so I try to stay in that lane as much as I can.
And you don't have to answer this question, but actually, I'm not even going to answer the question, because it'd be an odd question. One of these times that I censored myself.
Isn't that interesting? That makes me want to know what the question is.
But do you find, I mean, I have loyalty to some dealers in town that I've bought cars, but things shift in that. Do you find that you have a lot of repeat customers in that? I mean, cars are an every 3-year transaction, so it's not like they're coming to see you every week, but.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've got customers that I've done over 20 sales for them. I've got a car that was just brought to me last week from a gentleman in Charleston, and it's my 9th transaction with him, on the buying and selling side. I get a ton of repeat business.
I think that says a lot to who you are and what the business is. I mean, that's, to me, it is that. It's not that Google score or the Trustpilot score, and that it's the number of people that come back and trust you. And you are way more than one person doing that to, dozens, if not hundreds of people trust you enough to come and work this experience. I don't know where I should go from there. Is there something that I should have asked you? I hate that question also.
No, it's a good question. Trying to kind of think of our bases. I mean, we could talk about growth, maybe a little bit about kind of the direction we're heading. I mean, I know we've kind of been the same place for about 17 years. We are looking at growing as well in some other avenues, potentially, in the next five or so years, opening a second and third location outside of the city.
Is that what you're doing with that 40 acres out in Chelsea?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm making up. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't know that. Yeah, I'd love that. But no, we've got a lot of things that there's a lot of opportunities that we've missed over the years. And it's been by design. I mean, we've purposely turned down a lot of business because we didn't feel like we could be effective enough, or we were trained enough, or that it might be taking away from a seller and what our main objective is. But we are going to be moving soon into helping with car location. We've been turning it down for years. And that's mainly because my dad, that's what he has done for years. I think we're going to start going into that avenue. We're in discussions on possibly getting into fleet, maybe going after some of the larger companies here in town, or, that deals in a lot of fleet vehicles, helping them get rid of them when the time's right, maybe even looking at helping them wholesale avenues. That's a possibility. Training people to go out is in a sales force, to call on all the, conservators and, attorneys that deal in estates. And, there's so many avenues that we can go out and get. Like for years, they've all just been coming to me, through advertising. But I think if I was to put boots on the ground, and that's going to be one of our next stages too, is put boots on the ground to go out there and try to acquire cars to sell.
By doing that, you gave me a couple more questions, and there's one will go the little bit business avenue. And you are been very strategic with Birmingham Broker and growth in that. It's not like you're going on Marcus Leon's program and asking him to come help you so that you can open up 16 franchises. You've slowly built a reputation to the point now you're going to be comfortable into expanding or looking into other avenues, which I think says, again, a lot about you. You're not out to grab every dollar. You're there to make sure the product you offer is a quality product. What you were saying about expanding in car location, that was kind of the extra services, the things, you're not ready to quite do it yet or announce it, but if you're looking for a car, well, but
the reason that we're not really ready to announce it is I just can't drive this point enough. Our job is to do the best we can for the people we're trying to sell their car for. Most car dealerships do not want consignment. They hate consignment. I don't know why, but they do. Most people that are, if there is a car dealership out there that offers consignment, there's potential issues there of bait and switch. Your Camry is here so that I can use it to sell my Camry. We don't want any conflict. We don't want our sellers to ever think that we're straying from our mission, which is doing the best we can for our seller. So as we ease into this doing car location, we have to be very mindful and strategic how we're going to do it in the proper training. And it's going to need to be a quick transition from the salesperson that we choose to decide to do this from sales to doing this full time. Like we have to be ready to flip the switch because I don't want a conflict. I don't want somebody coming here interested in seeing your Camry and being like, gosh, I just wish the interior was tan instead of black. And then I don't want a salesman going, well, hell, I can probably make more money getting them a car. So, hey, I can help you find that car you're looking for. And then I've done a complete disservice to you. So it's a balancing act of timing it right, because it's going to have to be a light switch. Like whoever we choose or whoever we train to do this, that's going to be all they're going to be able to do in that category, other than other things we might need done around the business, maybe with social media or some other avenue. But I can't have a cross-pollination of anything that's going to take away from our mission.
Core business, buying and selling cars with individuals.
Selling cars for people, not buying. Buying is the misused word in my business all the time.
You're like, you actually used a good word in that explanation there of consigning, because that's really what you're doing. And me with my retail, what I've learned over the years is researching that everybody's, even in small retail, I've got that men's oriented gift shop. Everybody warns you against consignment because that's bad. That's bad. Well, the buildings I'm in are technically consignment shops.
Yeah. You're consigning your products in that building. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it works. To me, it works. And it's a great business model in that there's inventory is a nemesis of everybody. I think every businessman, and consignment to me helps control the outlay of inventory. You're worried about the selling of the inventory, the acquisition becomes easier, the better you become at selling.
Mm-hmm.
Now I forgot. I need to start carrying. I do carry a pad of paper. I just need to start using it to write down my notes.
No, that's okay. My brain fogs out in the middle of the conversation a lot.
So, but I don't know where. I've got to look here. Where
Do you have like so much recording time that thing will hold?
Oh no, I can record as long as I want. That my audio will do 36 hours.
Okay.
We just
I'm gonna be pretty tired after about 35.
we be real tough because Alabama football. And
That's right.
I really need to be shuffling you out of here.
Oh, that's true. We got a game, and what time does it say? 5:56, 5:58.
I think 5:56.
Yeah, we got half an hour for
Me and my damn mechanical watches. I forgot to wind it to the So I think we've touched a lot on Birmingham Broker in that. If any, this isn't a normal No Driving Gloves. Normally we live stream and that, but I thought this was one that we should sit down and talk and kind of have a little bit of conversation. I wanted to get out of the studio for a change. If any of the listeners have questions, feel free to email producer at nodrivinggloves.com or nodrivinggloves@gmail.com and let us know. Feel free to comment on the videos or the podcast. This is audio and video. It'll go out.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think your audience can pull from just a podcast like this with you and I here? Do you think that I've provided information that's valuable to your listening audience that doesn't make it seem like a friend helping another friend with their marketing pitch? I mean, like, do you feel like that the direction of your questions are helping to provide an informative listening experience for them? Or
I think that goes back to reputations. You're very solid on your reputation with the car buying public and your consigners. No Driving Gloves has been around since mid 2017, and we have a reputation of telling it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
I have insulted and say Adam Carolla multiple times on this, or Matt Farah multiple times on this. But Matt Farah has also been a guest on the podcast. I have done podcasting editing for Adam Carolla's company. So when I say something, I think my listeners believe that I'm not here shilling anything, because I don't need to be shilling anything. I'm doing this because I have honest questions, and I'm trying to provide answers that somebody can get without having to ask the question. Mm-hmm. Because my experience, people are afraid to ask the question. And with this podcast and the shorts and the chapters and things, you could get into this podcast and I think I would like to consign a car with Birmingham Broker or whatever consignment dealer is in your local area. And we're able to answer some of those questions. Now, your answers and your business practices may not apply to all consigning dealers, but it gives them the ability to find this episode and answer a lot of questions. And it gives you the ability to take this episode and kind of share it and say, hey, this is an explanation of what I do. Mm-hmm. In a very concise thing.
That was my angle. Yeah. I mean, I've loved these questions, but I love that this is going to be a platform for me to use to explain things too, because these are questions that the normal person just wouldn't ask. I mean, they're not flippant questions, shallow questions.
In shorts, they're not going to know we've known each other. Mm-hmm. I say that at the beginning to be honest with the listeners. Again, that's the honesty thing. I could have sat down here and said, oh, this is Craig Westbrook of Birmingham Brokers, and we're going to talk about consigning. But anytime that I've had a guest on that I've had a relationship with or a friendship with, or I've known outside of the interview space, I always disclose it, whether it be Randy Popst, whether it be Bert Levy, whether any of those people I have a relationship with, and we're going to say it. If I don't, and I don't say it, they know that I'm having that person on to discuss their book or discuss their activity.
Yeah.
So it's just something that I think you build up that trust. And, I've never done anything that, I like listeners and I like downloads, but I've never done anything cheesy or deceptive. I mean, if I do AI stuff with this, I have to disclose it. And I feel I'm going to disclose to the listener that I know you.
Yeah, sure. Well, good, man. I just, I'm curious. I don't really understand the podcast world. I've thoroughly enjoyed just sitting down and chatting. I mean, it's, going into something like this instinctually, or for me, I think I'm going to be nervous or babbling or not really knowing how to do, like bumbling, it just, I don't know. It's really, you create a comfortable setting, and I don't know. I've enjoyed it.
So that's what podcasting is. And I do it because I enjoy it. I would like No Driving Gloves to produce some income, but this has always been a platform for me to experiment with podcasting, experiment with my editing skills, experiment with things. And I've had some other podcasts that have generated income, and I've had, again, a lot of consulting and editing work on the side, but that's because of the knowledge I've learned through No Driving Gloves.
Fantastic. This has been good.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, and hopefully you did get some value out of this podcast. Again, give a complete plug for Birmingham Broker. Where do we find you? Give me whatever you want out there in the podcast sphere.
Well, we have a Facebook page, Birmingham Broker. We have a TikTok and Instagram, the socials, birminghambroker.com or bhambroker.com.
Now, that's simple enough. And when you say, it's No Driving Gloves, you know where to find us. You know where the episodes are. Go to nodrivinggloves.com. Links to all the socials are there. Any place that you want to subscribe. All the video podcasts, all the audio podcasts are there. And as usual now, it's time to get off your ass, go burn some gas, because John is out.